So today we're going to do something a little different. We're taking a piece of religious media, in this case a daily devotional, and we're going to deconstruct it. Now, we're not here to debate the beliefs, but to actually look at how it's built, to understand its communication strategy, and to see how it guides a reader from a single idea all the way to a global mission. Okay, let's dive in. First things first, let's ground ourselves. The document we're looking at is dated for a very specific day, Friday, September 26th, 2025, and it's set inside a larger theme for the whole month, supernatural healings and miracles. And what that tells you right off the bat is that today's message isn't just a one-off, it's a single piece of a much bigger ongoing story. All right, so here's our game plan for breaking this down. We'll kick things off with the core message, then see how it's backed up by scripture. After that, we'll look at the call to action for the individual. Then we're going to zoom out to see the organization's massive mission. And finally, we'll look at the global network that holds it all together. Okay, first up, the core message. What's the big idea? What's the one foundational concept that this whole thing is built around?
Well, we see right away that the message is from God's servant, David F. Nuefalu. And that title, God's servant, is really important. It's a way to immediately establish a kind of spiritual authority and legitimacy for everything that's about to be said.
Okay, so you've got the author's authority set up. The next logical step is, how do you back up the message? Let's look at the foundation they use. Now, before we even get to the scripture, we have to understand what they mean by healing. The message defines it as a holistic concept, so not just about being physically sick. It's about total healing for your spirit, your soul, and your body. See, by framing it this way, the message suddenly has a much wider appeal, speaking to things like emotional and mental struggles too. And this is how they anchor that big idea. The entire premise is tied to this one specific verse from the book of Isaiah. By pulling directly from scripture, the message isn't presented as something new. Instead, it's framed as an ancient promise, a fulfilled prophecy, which gives it a ton of weight. So up to this point, the text has laid out a belief and backed it up with scripture. But it's not enough to just present an idea, right? The next move is crucial, showing the reader what to do with it. How do you make it personal? And this is where it gets really practical. It lays out a simple 3-step process. First, you remember. Second, you receive. And third, you actively speak to the problem and claim the solution. It's a really clear structure that's all about turning you from a passive reader into an active participant. And to make it even simpler, they give you the words to say. It's basically a script. It takes away any guesswork about what to do or how to do it. It makes that call to action something you can do right here, right now. But the journey doesn't end with that one prayer. The devotional then points you toward more material, 3 other books by the same author. And this is a pretty classic strategy, right? You guide people toward more in-depth material to get them more invested in the organization's specific way of thinking. Okay, and here's where we make a huge pivot. We're zooming out from the intensely personal experience of one individual all the way to a massive global mission. Yeah, 500 million. When you just see the number by itself like this, it's pretty staggering. It really drives home the sheer scale of the ambition here. It's not some vague goal. It's a huge, concrete number. And you'll notice a pattern here. Just like with the personal healing, they break down this huge mission into simple, actionable steps. You can be a prayer partner, a volunteer missionary, or a kingdom investor. The idea is that there's a role for everyone, no matter who you are or where you are, to help reach that 500 million goal. And check this out. Tucked into this section is another prayer, and it's different from the first one. This one's the prayer of salvation. Its purpose is pretty clear. It's a conversion tool. It's designed to formally bring somebody into the fold and, well, count them towards that big number. All right, so we've got the personal message, and we've got the massive mission. So what's the last piece of the puzzle? The infrastructure. I mean, how do you actually connect and organize hundreds of millions of people all around the world? This table is actually pretty cool. It gives you a snapshot of the global coordination at play. You see these synchronized prayer times stretching from Nigeria to the US all the way to the Philippines. It creates this powerful feeling that you're part of a non-stop 24/7 global community where someone is always participating. And how do they keep this global network running? With a really modern, multi-channel approach. I mean, look at this list. You've got the old school stuff like phone and email, but then you've got WhatsApp, Telegram, and all the big social media players, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. This is all about meeting people where they are, on the platforms they're already using every day.
So when you put it all together, what you're really looking at is a masterfully built communication funnel. Think about it. It starts with something deeply personal, anchors it in ancient scripture, gives you a clear action to take, and then connects that personal action to this huge global movement, all of it powered by a modern digital network. Which really leaves us with one big question to chew on. How does a simple daily message successfully architect a path from personal belief to a coordinated global movement?